Thank you for staying with us. It's still our Democracy Day special. And we have joining us in the studio to talk about Nigeria's democratic journey since 1993 and the significant progress made so far in consolidating democracy. Former governor of Ogun State and senator representing Ogun East at the National Assembly, Senator Gbenga Daniel. Good morning and happy Democracy Day.
Good morning and good morning, viewers.
All right. Let's begin with the president's speech, which is something a majority of Nigerians are already reacting to, as well as the guests that we have heard. What were the major highlights for you?
Well, the first thing is that in President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we have a well-rounded personality who has been part of the struggle for democracy in our country. He has on his fingertips all the things that happen, the various dramatic personnel. And I was particularly excited when he reeled out the names of the heroes and the heroines, both the ones that are gone and the ones that are still alive. I think it's quite instructive and befitting, especially when he concluded that he happened to be somebody who is a beneficiary of the struggle.
Right.
It is not usual for you to have people who take part in struggles like this to be beneficiaries. The likes of Aferiwane, they are all gone. And so he has a sense of history. And I begin to, take that into consideration with some of the things he's been doing in recent times, naming streets after the likes of Wole Soyinka. Yeah. You can see that,
changing the national.
Yes, yes. There's something that is going on in him because he has been part and parcel of, what you can call the process. I usually tell our people that part of the reason why I'm confident that we're on the right track is that we don't have a stranger in government. Bola Tinubu is not an accidental president. He's somebody who has been strategic and who have a clear vision of what he wants to do. I'm very, very hopeful that it can only get better.
There is one thing to have a vision and another thing for you to communicate the vision for the people you are presiding over to understand and key into this vision. President Bola Tinubu is not a stranger in government, just like you said. And then he was also around during the debacle, the late MK Abiola, experience, during the annulment of June 12, 1993. Do you feel that he is somewhat translating the ideals of what we would have seen in MK Abiola if he was a president of Nigeria?
Well, if you look at the Renew Hope agenda, which is the manifesto of the party and which led them into government, I think if you look at it carefully, the theme of Abiola's campaign was Hope 93.
That's right.
And so I don't think when you now hear Renew Hope agenda, it's not just accidental or coincidental. It is indeed deliberate. And without any doubt, I know that in terms of planning, they will do quite a number of things that people. Of course, a lot of things have changed. All this happened some 30 years or so ago, but by and large, I have no doubt in my mind that some of those problems, because it was part and parcel of trying to find solutions since that time, are things that are well ingrained in his subconscious, and that is why it's going to be, for me, effortless for him to get us to the desired destination.
Well, he said in his statement that he understands the pain of Nigerians because there are a majority of those who said that he, being part of the struggle at the time, should have understood how to address the issues head-on as he came into office. And so picking holes in some of the statements he made has not been people-centric and not really a reflection of the realities on the ground.
I don't agree. Quite on the contrary. I'm of the firm opinion that as a people, we do think, hope, or believe that we can make omelette without breaking eggs. When we have gone through the curve as we have, one person came at some point in time and said, money is not our problem, but how to spend it. That was General Yakubu Gowon. And that was probably another 40 or so years ago. Nigerians have come to the conclusion or to the belief, albeit subconsciously, that there is money. And if you look at the lifestyle that we had before, during our parents, for instance, some of our parents who were well-to-do, they are contented with one car in the family. And along the line, remember then the Udoji Award, and people now started, thinking multiplicity of cars.
That's right.
It would have been a taboo, even from the richest people in those days. You don't find them. I remember in Okeado, where I stayed, there was one man called Ponle who lived down the road. He rode a Pontiac, but that was his only car. And he was probably the richest man at that time. These days, people will have, a fleet of vehicles, which invariably are not required. So we have become adjusted to what I can call unrealistic. And so if somebody now comes and says, no, we have to begin to take a second look at it, it will come out as not being populist. Probably that is the point that you are trying to make. But my own position is that for us to reset the perspective of this country, whether we like it or not, we have to suffer a little bit. And that is what Nigeria is not
what they are saying is that whatever the pain should be, as you are asking Nigerians to perhaps tighten their belts, government should also reflect that as it is. They are pointing hands at the recent mansion of the vice president and all of it, just picking issues here and there, the salaries of even senators and allowances and all of those issues, because the information and all of these things are out there.
No, I quite agree with some of the sentiments that have been expressed.
Yeah.
But let's take a look at the mansion of the vice president. I'm not so sure this was awarded during this administration. Okay? That has happened. The money has probably been paid to the contractor. The building is there. So what do you do with the building? Do you destroy it? Probably the only point people are making is that rather than celebrate it, maybe the VP should have moved in there quietly. But I also trust the media. They will now say there's something fishy. They've spent so much money and nobody knows this, that. So whichever way you go in Nigeria, there must be something that will happen. So my own position, apart from the fact that, having said all of this, that building is not for Shetima. It is for the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That building is not for you and I to go and have tea or coffee there. When other vice presidents or other very senior officials from all over the world come, they go there. There must be something that befits. Make no mistake about it. Nigeria is still the giant of Africa. And whatever we do, yes, I appreciate that, okay, maybe things could have been done slightly differently. But there are minimum standards. Otherwise, you are just demarketing your country for no just reason. Sometimes that I used to wonder. I was watching a film recently, and they were talking about the Beast. And that is the official vehicle of the President of the United States.
Right.
And it is unbelievable what they are talking about. It is bomb-proof. It is this-proof. If you try to take it from the air, there is good way. Why? Are they wasting money? They are sending a signal. Don't toy with America. I don't know whether I'm communicating.
Absolutely.
And that is, whether you like it or not, it is that perception that they've created that they are ruling the world. In the rest of all of that, quite a number of resources flows into America. So some of these things that we're looking at our own level, because of the level of poverty and want of our people, the tendency was, oh, it's a waste. I appreciate that. Where I'm going actually is not about whether the building is required or not. It is the cost of the construction. And for me, I think the biggest challenge we have as a people is to begin to have reasonable cost for some of these projects. My second thesis is that Again, there's nothing wrong with that project if it is done by Nigerians. Even if the price is high, Nigerians will benefit from it. The money will stay in our economy, will create some multiplier effect. So where am I going? The only thing I can say, because I'm part and parcel of the party, and I'm part and parcel of this administration, are based from the legislative angle, is that we must begin to go towards a situation whereby things like this must be done by our people. And for me, you've not asked that question, but going towards that angle, the only problem we have here, for me, is not that we don't have resources, but we're not keeping our resources here.
How so?
From all angles. I'm the only one who is not guilty this morning, but all of you are wearing made in England, made in China, made in...
There are some
This is made in
Nigerians.
Nigeria. Everything here is made in
Made in
Nigeria.
Nigeria.
So, I mean, no, look into this studio. Nothing is done here.
No, this is.
Yeah, this is.
This is.
This is. The backdrop, everything.
The backdrop,
It's done.
everything.
I leave it.
In fact, the beautiful picture you're seeing behind you is done here.
These are not done here. So, but on the more serious note, I think we will make a lot of progress as a people if we begin to consume what we produce. All this business of the foreign exchange and all of that, there's only one solution to it.
That's right.
For as long as everything is coming from abroad, we will never be able to have the naira at the rate that we want it. So it is production. And how can we achieve production? First and foremost, we need to drop our penchant for conspicuous consumption.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I'm complicated.
That's right.
So
Absolutely.
That's right.
this is what
That's right.
I'm looking at.
That's right. So if you look at, if you try to look at the atmosphere, people, we are remembering the late M.K. Abiola and then the struggle and all of the things that he did, and declaration at the Epetedo, which is now famously referred to as Epetedo Declaration. What was the striking thing for you that you feel that if we have this thing in our social fabric, economic fabric, Nigeria would be, at the apogee of, you said Nigeria is the giant of Africa.
Still the giant of
but then, I guess, was it Obafemi Awolowo that said it's just a geographical expression or something like that? So how do you situate this? Like if there's this one thing about him that he has always espoused, and if we have it, Nigeria will be at that pedestal that we want it to be.
First thing first, about Chief Awolowo saying Nigeria is just a mere geographical expression. Whereas nobody can fault that statement, as it were. The fact of the case is that there could always be strength in diversity. And I can imagine when the current constitution is being fathomed, that it was deliberately fathomed away from parliamentary to presidential, looking at the American model as an example. It's a typical of strength in diversity. And so for each and every disadvantage, we can look at it and we have areas of strength. And the Americans have done it successfully, despite the fact that you have African Americans, Indian Americans, Caribbean Americans, everybody Americans, and they've come together to say, yes, this is our country, and these are the American dreams, this is the American objective, and they all fall in line. So I am looking at a situation where if only we can have a slightly better level of patriotism, we can have a strong country called Nigeria. So that's my comment as far as that is concerned. Now, the man MKO, I happened to be a very young man at the University of Lagos when all of this was evolving. Was clearly, of course, he was chairman of ITT, radio communications and things like that. So from where he's coming from, you can see that he has a private sector approach to what we need to do ideologically. Because part of our problem as a country is that we seem to lack a particular type of ideology. And when you look at what has happened to our public institutions, it's very clear to us, like I usually say when I was governor, that government have no business in business, but they have a responsibility to facilitate business. Okay, so what he was bringing on the table is privatization, a laissez-faire environment. But the other advantage that he has also is that he rose from what you can call ground zero. So he appreciates the problem of the poor man, the problem of the masses, and he knows that he can apply, certain pressure to rearrange things. That's what I think he was bringing onto the table. Now, let's fast forward. Our current president, whether you like it or not, has a very similar set of experiences. He went through everything that you can imagine. He went through the struggle, and don't forget, he also went on exile.
Yes,
that's right.
That's not a particularly easy thing for you to, having built an empire, and you have to, run away for dear life. And when he was in exile, he was also very active with the struggle until one fine day when he then decided he was going to come back. So I can see that he also have a clear-cut appreciation of what we needed to do, as a country to rearrange the way things are done. And when he came and said, we have to keep the ground running from day one, I can see that he's clear in what he has to do. And like I said earlier on, I think the only problem is that we must appreciate that things that have gone wrong over decades requires a little bit of period of self-deprivation for us to get it back on track, and that's where we are.
Interesting. Now, there are those who say that the very issues that led to the agitation for a democratic rule at the time are still very much with us, and that the struggles and all of it, we haven't seemingly learned lessons such that we are able to build on those lessons to move our democracy forward to where Nigerians want it to be. What say you to that?
Well, I also think that what appears to be an advantage for us may be part of our bastards. We attained independence without shooting a gun. It came effortlessly. Yes, there were agitations, there were talks in England, and then one fine day, we attained independence somewhere in 1960. And between now and then, yes, barring the Civil War between 1967 and 1970, as a people, we've not really gone through trauma. When you put that side by side to what happened in Somalia,
some persons haven't still gotten closure with what happened during the Civil War.
yes, but what I'm saying is that the kind of experience of other countries, quite devastating.
Right.
We still have Sudan problem. I spoke of even Congo.
Yes.
We didn't go through all of that. A number of things that we achieved effortlessly. Even the Civil War, I quite agree that yes, a war remains a war, but it is not like what's going on in Gaza, for example, today.
Right.
Where every single day it's unbelievable the amount of killing that's going on.
That's right.
Okay? And I think because of that, we still have not known pain. And I pray we don't know pain. A number of people have continuously, we're fed up with this system, nothing has changed. In my opinion, a lot has changed. And I think what people also have to appreciate is this. Democracy, they keep saying that is still the best form of government. But unfortunately, when we were all young, everybody read about Marxist Leninism, Karl Marx, Chairman Mao Zedong, and we go to debating rooms, begin to quote some of those things and all of that. In reality, it's a little bit different from that. So when you come to the reality of the situation, you'll find out that democracy is not a revolution. it is an evolution. So you cannot eat your cake and have it. It's either you want democracy. If you want a revolution like the likes that happened in Ghana with Rawlings, is that what we're looking for? Now, you guys don't want that.
That's right.
That is a process of revolution.
Right.
Okay, we must change this. Okay, so if I have to change it, X, Y, Z must go. We have to start all over again. I know that that is a revolution. Now, maybe Ghana got their desired result. I don't know. Whether that result is sustainable, I don't want to pass comment. The fact of the case is that the democratic system that we've all chosen is an evolution. An evolutionary process is a longer, winding process, subject to continuous change, amendment, and improvement. I was reading, I was looking at CNN this morning. I said, Biden's son have been convicted.
Yes.
Then I was reading another one. I said, okay, Trump will run as president despite his conviction.
Yeah.
And then somebody was being active in an interview and said, they have never envisaged that a situation will come in American history where somebody who wants to run for president will have this sort of. So it's not in their constitution. So Trump will run, even as a convicted. They say it will be, if he wins, he'll be running, from the prison, which is White House. Okay, what am I saying? Democracy, and that is really where the best in democracy, it is an evolutionary process. And it will be subject to various situations, changes, amendments. That's why we're still amending the Constitution till today. So my prayer to our people, my plea to our people, is that they have to appreciate that we have chosen democracy. It is not a fast process at all. A number of us who also, while we're in school, read Karl Marx and all of that, sometimes feel disgusted about the slow and unwinding process in democracy is. But let me go to the National Assembly, for instance. People complain about the National Assembly. It is a reflection of the Nigerian people.
Really?
We elected them there through the democratic process.
Right.
So if it is slow and winding, it is still the reflection of the people. And that is the fundamental thing we all need to appreciate. At the National Assembly, you cannot aggregate your ideas and hope you get it through. It is democracy. There's going to be voting. So you can contemplate and, you can say whatever you like. You can grandstand. You can.
But others will disagree.
And at the end of the day, people will ask their people, do you agree with what is going on? Where do we vote?
They really ask their people.
If they do. And if they don't, they will pay at home when they go back. That's what you must appreciate. So when you see things happening, they should have done that. Why they so?
But then the case with the reversion to the old national anthem, they said it was so fast that it was so expedited that if the same approach was applied to what are realities are the current issues
like what
maybe insecurity, food crises, etc., then Nigeria will be better.
The difference. That process did not require any budgeting. It requires no money to be appropriated. It's an idea. And when you're talking of security, big money, you can't take that kind of decision as quickly as that. Even this one that we're talking about, the wages, is big bucks, trillions. You can't just wake up and decide and get, no. But you want to change the national anthem. Fact of the case, maybe you may need to also remember this. A number of us, maybe because of our age, we never really liked this new anthem.
You never really liked it.
We never really liked it. We prefer the old one. Maybe because that's the one we used when we were in school and growing up. So for us, fantastic. Let's go. And that's what happened.
You mean you never really liked the one?
What we want is Nigeria will hail thee, not arise.
Well, a lot of Nigerians were not happy with the reversal to.
Maybe it's a generational issue. Maybe people who woke up to know arise to come, they've gotten used to it. But some of us who probably a bit older, we were used to Nigeria, and we didn't see the need for change between you and I, beyond saying that maybe this one was done by this or by that.
Right. So talking about democracy, which you were referring to earlier, they've always said it's a borrowed, system of government, and the way it is contextualized in the United States is right from the way you also see it in Australia, We see it in even Great Britain, United Kingdom, because they have prime minister, they still have their monarchical system in place. And they've been calling for our own true federalism, domesticating, localizing the concept of democracy to our own reality. And that's why some others are also calling for regionalism and all of that, restructuring, etc.
We saw the House of Reps pushing that.
Exactly, and then collapsing the National Assembly to just one, and rather than bicameral legislature that we have. Exactly where do you stand? Where do you think this democracy is actually taking us?
Well, there are quite a number of factors that we need to take into consideration. The very first thing is that we have a very large population in Nigeria. And to that extent, when you say you want to reduce either from a bicameral to unicameral, you are looking at maybe the amount of money you are going to save. Largely, you're looking at budget and all of that. I come back again to where I've started. If you appreciate the pressure because of the way the system is, you will change your mind about a number of things. Okay. Permit me to use my own little as an example. Because I've read, National Assembly are getting so much and all of that. In my Abuja office, I have about 8 people employed. Yes, they get some stipends, but what they get can hardly sustain them in Abuja. So out of what I get, I double that. Now, I have a constituency office, one in Shagamu, one in Djibouti. Okay? I have coordinators in each of the 9 local governments. I have deputy coordinators. I have people what I call 5 pillars in each local government, 5 pillars in each ward. Let me put it this way, succinctly. I have probably about 2,000 people that I give stipends to
monthly,
every month. And I submit to you that the allowances that I get cannot sustain it. I have to subsidize from some of the other things that God has given me. I agree that it's not all of us that have that kind of extensive, but all these people that I speak about, they feel that, we are the one who put you there.
No, of course, they are the one who put you there.
We are jobless. And you have no choice. It's not a lot of money. Some as little as 20,000, some 50, some 100. And I have a few people that I pay 500,000 per month. And all of us are doing all sorts of work, monitoring. So the way we look at it is completely different from what it is outside. And if you now say that part of the challenge you have is to make sure that you provide employment for a large number of people, what are you going to do? And don't forget, you are going to go back home one day and say you want to return. Those are the people that are going to go meet. The other thing we must understand, comparing this with the Americans, is the level of education. And until we get there, when we begin to, part of the challenge we have today in our country is that everything is about government. The private sector is gasping for breath. So when you say everybody now, what are they looking for? Can I get an employment appointment? Everybody's looking for appointment. This was not the way it was before. So if you begin to talk of reducing government, yeah, it makes sense. But don't forget, you are also increasing unemployment. And you are going to increase unemployment back home. So when people say, the president is there appointing 40 ministers, 30 ministers, yes. But let me also say something to you. And I permit to use the model that I ran when I became governor in Ogun State. What was going on is that there is not enough money. People must retrench. And I said, no, I'm not going to retrench. Instead, I doubled the civil service population. But why? I was able to open opportunities for everybody to get busy. And I tell you, if I was still there, I would employ more people. Because there are untapped opportunities in tourism, in sport. You cannot imagine the opportunities that are there. So we never will have enough people to do some of this work. So I personally, I don't subscribe to this business of stream governance. And when you look at globally the figures that we are talking about to sustain all of this, is nothing compared with the figures that has been misappropriated. So the biggest problem we have in our country is not those people that we employ in government. It is how we can stem corruption, misappropriation of funds, and outright stealing, which clearly we can see going on a near-daily basis in our body politics. That's right.
All right. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari, recognized this day as Democracy Day as it is. And a lot of persons felt that perhaps former President Olusegun Obasanjo would have acknowledged the day being the first beneficiary. But at the end of the day, this day has been adopted as the Democracy Day as it is. Between the time that the President acknowledged this day, that's in 2018, up until now, do you think that perhaps the struggles and every other person that has been looking at this day, that they have gotten that closure that they needed with regards to the struggle and every other thing they put in to ensure that we get the democracy that we want, now that the day is recognized?
Well, I congratulate everybody that has made it possible that we have this day. It is the right thing to do. One of the things I did when I was governor is to declare, I didn't have a right to declare a public holiday. But I was able to declare June 12 as a work-free day in Ogun State, even at that time. That was 2004. And like I said, the political process is an evolution. Everybody has their own idea about how we got here. If you ask the war generals, the likes of Olusegun Obasanjo and all that, they have their own ideas. Now, if you come to the people called the progressives, which President Bola Ahmed Tinubu represent, for instance, they have their own idea. They got here by way of struggle, and so they have clear-cut ideas and what is important to them. And so what you see playing out is just that. Somebody, it's May 29, that's when we handed over. I don't know, it's June 12, that's when people lost their life. Which one is more important? For me, I think slowly, gradually, we'll get into closure. But it is appropriate that June 12 is indeed the Democracy Day. It is indeed appropriate.
Actually, a lot of people who are your fans and who are also, sharing your faith, must have been seeing some of the things that you mentioned people in your constituency, and then looks like you're having something that would, include people from other constituencies, which is this. I've been seeing something on TV. Some choirs coming together for
choir festival.
Yeah, for choir festival. Ensemble of choirs and all of that. Could you just quickly tell us about this? This upcoming program, because as we wrap up.
Well, don't forget, I was the son of a clergyman.
Oh, because I was wondering, seeing you on a piano.
Oh man, I sang back at the Baptist School. I was a school organist, so singing is part of it.
Perhaps before you leave, you sing for us.
No problems. But more than anything else, what some of us have found out is that the value system have collapsed. And whether we like to believe it or not, the Christian religion, the Islamic religion have a lot to do in terms of how to reorientate ourselves. And so I'm picking one side, which is where I belong, and I'm looking at my, now, when you now see what goes on, for instance, going to churches for me is better than going to discotheques. Right. So how can we encourage young people to go to church, to listen to the way things should be done? For me, the 10 commandments, in fact, the universal commandment, do unto others, is so universal. How can we get young people to go and listen? These days, they get bored with preaching. But when you can get them to go and listen to good music, gospel music, you'll be shocked the amount of people you are going to convert. So for me, it is part of an effort to reorientate our people and create a better value system for our society.
Interesting. And it's a good place to leave the conversation. Unfortunately, I would have loved for you to just sing, just something little before we move on, because our time is up.
Blessed be the tie that binds. You want me to go on?
Senator Gbenga, former Ogun State Governor and Senator representing Ogun East at the National Assembly. Thank you so much for your time on the program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Let's move over now to Ekpetedo, where we have